Jasper had to make an effort not to smile. For all she was shy and romantic-minded, Miss Witchwood had starch in her. You didn't find his constancy difficult to believe? No. He was a knight, adhering to a code of chivalry. And anyway, it is just a novel. A fantasy, then. Unfortunately, real men don't go to such lengths for love. I dare say some never experience the emotion at all. His mouth hitched at one corner. You're well acquainted with gentlemen's hearts. Not personally, but I know plenty of ladies who are. She paused, confessing. When one isn't comfortable talking in company, one learns to be a prodigiously good listener. I've heard the most dispiriting things as a consequence. Jasper could well believe it. If there was one thing he knew about ladies, it was that they talked freely among one another, often with a level of candor that would put most gentlemen to the blush. I wouldn't believe everything you hear. Oh, I don't. But I believe enough to know that real gentlemen are nothing like the heroes in novels. For one thing, they wouldn't pursue a lady for as long as Sir Richard did, and with so little hope of having their feelings reciprocated. No, indeed, he said quietly. A real gentleman would respect a lady's wishes and cease his pursuit. Understanding registered on Miss Witchwood's face. A blush followed with it. But she didn't look away from him. She held his gaze, her bosom rising and falling on a tremulous breath. He would leave her alone, Jasper murmured, unless she'd changed her mind about him. Silence stretched between them. There was no muffled conversation from the other people on the balcony, no music drifting from the interior of the house. Only a thick band of tension, pulled so tight it felt as though it might snap at any moment and obliterate them both. Jasper's heart thudded hard. Have you changed your mind? Miss Witchwood's flustered gaze dropped to their hands, side by side on the railing. I don't know you well enough to say. Her soft, halting words were husky as velvet. I'd like to know you. Triumph surged through him. It wasn't a full-throated endorsement of his intentions toward her, but by God, it was a start. Then you shall, he vowed. The sound of the French doors opening prevented him from saying anything more. He removed his hand from the rail, turning around to come face to face with Miss Witchwood's redoubtable chaperone. Miss Witchwood, Mrs. Major said in ominous tones. What are you doing out here? And without your wrap? You'll catch your death. I needed some air, Miss Witchwood replied. Captain Blunt kindly offered to escort me. Captain Blunt? Mrs. Major's attention lingered on his scar. Her lip curled in unconscious revulsion. You've done quite enough, sir. I shall take charge of her now. I trust you won't neglect her, ma'am, Jasper said. Mrs. Major bristled at the reproof. Indeed. Come, Miss Witchwood. Lord Gresham has been asking after you. Miss Witchwood caught Jasper's gaze as she moved to rejoin her chaperone. Thank you, she said, under her breath. He inclined his head. Enjoy your ride in the morning, Miss Witchwood. She glanced back at him, eyes round. Mrs. Major nudged her through the French doors. Inside, she said, and promptly. His lordship is waiting.